He was a rock. He was stone. He wasn't going to move a muscle. Not a flicker, not a twitch, not a shining armor. He nearly fell over. Cadence? All of the rotten luck. Given a premium role in the Grand Galloping Gala, and they botched it, the ghost from his past had found him in the hallway. A very pretty ghost. Quite a stunning ghost, actually. He remembered braces, a ponytail, and gangly legs of a teenage balance between a filly and mare. The pony that stood, smiling at him, was elegant and posed. Her long mane swept up until elaborate up to do that properly, and name draped in jewelry and ball gown that made him. Focused very, very hard on her face, in case at looking away, it looked on her flank got him slapped. Wow, it's been, well, years, she laughed. You're a royal guard now? I remember you wanted to be away back when we were kids. He had also spent the whole last year in Canterlot trying to figure out ways to tell her he liked her and possibly asked her on the date. Tried on being the important word in that sentence. Her hoof flew to her mouth. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. You're on duty, aren't you? I'm totally distracting you. I'll just go. It was nice seeing you again. He was a rock. He was stone. He wasn't going to move a muscle. Not a flicker, not a twitch. Nothing would make his superior mad. He touched her shoulder before she could leave. Do you, want to go get some donuts after the ball? Keynes looked at him, and really looked at him. She then smiled. I'd love to. So you're going on another tour? Keynes nodded. I have to. It's kind of expected. She never really had minded going there. Touring the countries in Equestria as a royal ambassador, she had learned all about how to be a proper princess from her experience abroad. She hadn't believed Celestia when she first told her that it would happen, but as everything else, it seemed like Celestia had been right. Except this time, Cadence really didn't want to go. Really, really didn't want to go. She shifted in her hooves. Her shoes felt tight and restrictive. They were all new and didn't fit quite right. She dreaded the day that she had to move over to the metal shoes Celestia wore. All princesses in the realm were expected to wear them. Some of the officials she interacted with wondered why she hadn't already wore them. She wondered what they would say about shining armor. Princesses don't go out with guards, not even royal guards, not even stallions tipped to be the next captain of the guard. The princess had a royal suitors, and they were courted by nobility. The prince of the Grabphonia had asked her to dance at the last Griffin gathering, their equivalent to the Grand Galloping Gala. He wasn't horrendous, as Griffins went. Usually he was quite nice, softly spoken in gentle way she hadn't expected, yet her hoof hadn't tingled when he looked at her heart. It hadn't soared when she walked with him in the gardens of Scarred Castle. Not even the way it was sitting in disguise, giggling at a terrible donut cafe with the stallion who looked like her, like she was the only mare in the room. I'll write to you, he says lamely. Every day. Her handler poked his head out for the door. Princess Cadence, your carriage is waiting, madam. All right. Sighing, she went to leave. Cadence? Shining asked suddenly. She looked over her shoulder. Yes, I'll be waiting for you. He said it like it was some tremendous oath, and they were both characters from the epic storybooks she used to read Twilight before bedtime. Cadence smiled and left with a lighter heart. He met her on the balcony. She wasn't expecting it. She had thought she was going to see him the next day. Tired and rumpled, still traveling clothes, she slumped onto the balustrade and closed her eyes. Hey! Her eyes snapped open as she nearly tumbled onto her butt. Shining? He then hovered out in front of her, in the empty air of her, 6 feet on the wrong side of the balustrade. You look surprised. Shining, you have wings. Like them? He fluttered around elaborate butterfly wings he most definitely had not seen before she left. I found a spell for them in the book in the library, he grinned. Apparently Twily's study habits are genetic. Want to take them for a spin? Cadence looked around. I just got back. Her hoof maidens would soon be alone to soon unpack their bags, take her clothes away for cleaning, and dozens of other things they did as a princess. She was supposed to go to bed, then to be fresh and ready for the interview with Celestia in the morning. She was supposed to, Shining dipped, as if he wasn't quite used to his wings, but he took hard to cover it. His dashing smile became frantically more strained as her silence prolonged. Screw what she was supposed to do. Using her telekinesis, she unzipped the dress that she was wearing and stepped out of it. After a moment of reflection, she kicked off all 4 of her shoes and jumped onto the balustrade, Shining's smile infused with a renewed delight. Think you can keep up, Flyboy? She asked coldly. Oh, I think so. I've been practicing. He then turned her into an awkward circle to prove it. Cadence flared her wings and then leapt out of the balcony. He caught her hoof and kept up with her as she soared upwards out of Canterlot, into the sky of empty anything except stars, the moon, and 2 laughing ponies. Shining looked down at Cadence's sleeping face and wondered how he ever got so lucky. The cloud beneath them was soft and pellant, though thankfully they didn't fall through it. He had to remember to thank Twily for her spell, her letter delivered via Dragon Express, and a very amused princess had made him blush when he collected it, but its contents were worth it. The sky lightened with dawn colors around them. His wings would last a few mere hours, he reckoned, but now he didn't care wherever they evaporated, and he was stranded up there, as long as he was stranded with Cadence. He shifted slightly and murmured something inaudible to his stomach. He was apparently a comfortable pillow, since she had fallen asleep easily after their flight. His aching shoulder were nothing compared to the sense of supreme contentment, and that kept him awake. He knew he could watch her sleep for hours. He frowned, a creepy thought. Stop having thoughts that make you sound like a stalker, idiot. What the heck did a pony like Cadence see in a schmuck like him? His pedigree wasn't as stellar as his career prospects. Wild good weren't exactly princess-worthy. She had seen him in a tongue-tied colt with a wobbly, still-breaking voice for Celestia's sake. Cadence smiled in her sleep. Shining, she murmured. His heart swelled. Whatever she saw, he was glad she was at least saw it. Celestia watched Cadence greet filling ponies past. The young alicorn was polite, refined, and clearly bored out of her skull. Celestia could relate. She disliked the sorts of function that had long since worked out, small games to play. She could elevated her own bedroom. Tonight, however, she was more than taken away Cadence while White Guard on duty, till left her kept sneaking looks at each other. They couldn't have signposted in their burgeoning romance more, even if they written a big sign and walked down with bullhorns. Cadence nodded as the ambassador from the Dazzle Islands, eyes flicking left again. When she met the gaze of the guard, whose identity Celestia knew very well, she looked down and a faint blush made her cheeks shade darker. Celestia stepped closer and leaned a little. Go on. Excuse me? Cadence looked at surprise. I could take care of this. I've had enough practice. A few dozen centuries worth. But who was counting? Go on, have a dance with him. Cadence whined. But he's... She trailed off. Celestia raised an eyebrow. Just a guard? She chuckled. Cadence, do you really think that matters? But I'm a princess. Of love, Celestia smiled kindly. You're the princess of love. So go and dance with the pony who's been making googly eyes at you all evening. Celestia signaled to the captain of the guard, the blue-streaked old stallion whose retirement rolled steadily towards them with every passing day. I'll reassign him for the evening. As of right now, his duties include dancing, drinking punch, and making Princess Cadence smile and fall a little more in love with him." Cadence flushed scarlet. "Thank you, Celestia. Think nothing of it, my dear. The world always needs more love. Go on now, enjoy yourself, and stop worrying about what other ponies would think." Cadence trotted away as Celestia smiled at the innocence of the young, which, when you were over 1,000 years old, was pretty much every pony. Shining's training had included magic drills, marching, martial arts, spear and sword training, comportment amongst nobility. None of it included dancing. His left front hoof shot out an oddly angle. He tried to compensate by flicking his tail jauntily. It didn't work. His right hind hoof met another pony's shin. "Ouch! Whoops! Sorry, sir." The stallion moved off, rubbing his injured leg. Shining turned the same shade as a ladybug and ducked his head. Cadence's giggle brought it back up. "So we'll have the whole dance floor to ourselves," she said, "and the whole room will have my hoof marks on them. That would sure make a good impression when it came to selecting the next captain." Not only did he care much about that right now, Cadence's laughter did funny things to his insides, and even dancing in public didn't faze him as much as usual. Typically resisted on dancing the public in the economic void, the cheese graters. But tonight's was not made for hang-ups and invitations. Cadence danced like she did everything. Elegantly, she circled left and right, shook her head. Circling right, the light reflected off the jewels woven into her mane, playing across her face dozens of tiny permastic rainbows. She looked like something out of a dream, and she was dancing with him. Mr. Four left hooves. Faintly, he tried again, ignoring the other ponies, left the floor before he could get too close. The gardens of Canterlot Castle was a beautiful night. Cadence had always liked walking in them every day, when the bees and the birdsong provided a nice background noise to help clear her head, but under the moonlight it looked a feral quality that suited her mood. She was a little frightened, actually. The strength of her feelings was not something that she had anticipated when she first spotted the brother to the filly she used to full sit in the hall those months ago. It had been a passing notion to say hello. Nothing more. Now she wanted to be with him all the time. He occupied her waking thoughts, even though she was supposed to be concentrating on something else. She couldn't wait to see him whenever their free time intersected, which had happened so often that she suspected Celestia's hoof in the processings. Cadence? Yes, Shining?" She leaned against him, stopping when he stopped. He was tense, and she realized. Very, very tense. "Shining, is something wrong?" He swallowed compulsively. I have something to ask you." "What?" She watched it grow in shock as he knelt. His horn glowed, fetching a small velveteen box from his saddlebag. He opened it and the moonlight glimmered, a ring topped off with a perfect, heart-shaped diamond. The battle was over. The day was saved. The changelings had been defeated. It had been a time for good rejoicing. Every pony should have been flowering with happiness. Shining wouldn't look at her, not once. Cadence bit her lip. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" she asked, frightened at the answer she might get. They had been separated for weeks and had returned to find him so firmly gripped in of Chrysalis that had worried that mind-controlling had left her lasting damage. What if driving the changeling queen had sucked out all the love Shining had for her? What if being around her now reminded too much of his ordeal? What if... "I'm sorry," Shining whispered. Cadence looked in surprise. "Sorry, Pony Feather. What do you have to be sorry for? I'm the one who should be sorry." He hung his head, still not looking at her. I didn't realize," he said, so softly he could barely hear him, "that she wasn't you. I love you, Cadence. I didn't realize you had been replaced with some magic-sucking bug." He then closed his eyes in shame. "I'm so sorry." Cadence looked at him and her fiancé, the stallion she loved with all of her heart. She moved to his side and nuzzled his neck. He reacted with astonishment, rearing back away from her. Chrysalis was stalking us for months, love. She told me when she imprisoned me that she and her changelings had unfollowed us everywhere. She was planning this for long than any pony knew. She was set out to learn everything about me in order to mimic me, so no pony would know. Not even Celestia realized it was her. She practically raised me. Twilight realized, said Shiny. Yes, and for that I'm forever grateful. Caden stopped at him and nuzzled his neck again. This time he didn't pull back. If it had been for her, I would have lost you. I don't know what I would do if I lost you, Shining. I'm sorry too. What? Why? For nearly giving up when I was in the caves. I didn't think I'll be able to get out to save you. I tried so hard to escape, but I couldn't. She trailed off, unable to put words into the deep despair that had gripped at her when she comprehended how she thoroughly Chrysalis had imprisoned her. No way to communicate with the outside world. No way to use her magic to break free. No water, no food. By the time Twilight had found her, she had been half crazed with dehydration, sleep deprivation, and plain old exhaustion from running around in panic. Shining hooked his head over hers, pulling hers to him. But you didn't give up. You loved me enough to keep going. And you loved me enough to defeat that bug who fooled every pony when no one else could. Cadence closed her eyes, breathing the familiar scent of him. He was wearing that cologne that she had given him last birthday, and the faint aroma of her own magic clung to his fur like burnt ozone and spices. I love you, Shining Armor. And I love you, mi amore condesa. And if you call me that again, I may have to hurt you, though. He laughed as it was the most wonderful sound that he had ever had. What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video. And I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, please stay pretty.